I did read over the weekend that it's a surprise to everyone that there's still a whole week of January left. So I'm starting the last week of January very positively. I'm going to be talking in a second to Jay Blake. I'm just doing all of my things. So Jay Blake is the founder of Love Payroll, co-founder of Love Payroll, along with Ruth. I'm going to be talking to Jay about payroll. I'm just doing my technical stuff in the background to see if we're actually live on LinkedIn or Facebook yet. And as soon as we are, I'll start talking properly as such. Jay and his wife Ruth are the founders of Love Payroll, providing outsourced payroll services, which we're going to talk about a lot. But what I want to do as we go live is just make sure that Facebook and LinkedIn are actually talking to us. And if I look a tiny bit frantic at the beginning of these, there we go. There's a delay on both LinkedIn and Facebook. There we are on LinkedIn. I'm looking at a different screen at the moment, and I can see that we are live on LinkedIn. Let's see what's happening on Facebook. Can't see us there yet, but I'll go and check us out. Whilst I'm doing this, whilst I'm waffling, and talking about it, once I know that we are definitely live, then what we'll do is we seem to have a problem with Facebook. I've no idea why, but we're live on LinkedIn. So I'm going to stick with that for the time being, and we will come back to Facebook in a moment. No idea why that's giving me a problem, but nevertheless, we're here and we're live. I can see that we're live on LinkedIn, so I'll talk to you folk. Once we're live, if you've got any questions about payroll, then pop them in the comments, which is over there for me, and I'll see them and I'll read them out. If you've got any comments about Connect Live, the event that we're also going to talk about, and why Love Payroll have chosen to be the headline sponsor of Connect Live, then pop those in the comments as well. They're over there. Okay, so let's stick. No idea why Facebook hasn't picked us up. It always works absolutely perfectly. It's not working now, but we'll stick with LinkedIn, and I'll talk to you lovely people. We can even come back to Facebook another time if we need to. I'm going to introduce Jay. I've talked about Jay. I've talked about what Jay does. I've known Jay Blake for certainly approaching 20 years now. I am thrilled to be actually working with him professionally. I'm thrilled that Love Payroll is turning into the amazingly positive business that it is. And I'm thrilled to bring Jay onto stage now. There you go.
Good morning, young man.
I'm gonna say something to you as an aside, but I think I've worked something out. You know, me and you had a chat this morning, and you said you can't share something because of this, and I changed the thing that it was. I reckon that might have stopped us going live on Facebook, which means that we're live on LinkedIn at the moment, and not Facebook. I think that little edit that I made may have knackered what we're doing. So,
okay. Well, if we've got a recording of this, we can put the entire recording on Facebook, I'm sure.
We will do exactly that, and I'll apologise to the people who were going to watch us on Facebook instead. I think that's what made it happen. Never mind. Tell me a little bit, if you don't mind, about Love Payroll and what it is that you actually do.
Gladly. It's a real privilege to be with you, Stefan, and I really do enjoy it when we get a chance to have a chat. It's even more fun when we get to have a chat kind of online and with an audience listening in. And I also chuckled because I'm sitting there and you're speaking so beautifully about Love Payroll, and I personally know very little about payroll, and that is the joy of it for me. I think the privilege that I have of talking about what we do as a business and utilizing the knowledge and the skills and the decades of experience that Ruth, my wife, has with Love Payroll is what absolutely floats my boat and gets me excited. We have the privilege of being a answering service, if you like, for a number of accountants when they have issues with payroll. And there is something very special about watching somebody. I talk about, we've all heard the saying, I'm guessing, of the chap who runs the mill and the mill stops working and he spends forever trying to get the wretched mill to start again. And eventually they find the old bloke down the road who's an absolute skilled engineer about how to get the mill working. And he walks into the mill and he looks around for 20 minutes and he gets his little hammer out and he one knock and hey presto, the mill starts working again. So they then they tell him to send the invoice, which he dutifully does, for £10,000. And they go, that's a lot of money for 20 minutes work. And he said, yes, well, it's that £5 for that hitting that little bit of the mill, and it's all of the rest of that invoice for that level of experience. And I get to witness that in payroll. And we are Love Payroll because we do what we say on a tin, but we're also Love Payroll because when I first met Ruth a number of years ago, and you get past all of the frivolities and start talking about boring things like work, and I asked her what she did for work, and she said, I love payroll. It's what I do. And I said, that's fabulous, and held on to that. And whenever she talks about her work, prior and much more now with having the business, she will say, I just love it. It's getting down and into the detail of payroll that she absolutely adores. So when I was sat there, we'd formed a company with my former accountant as our FD, and the first thing she said is, well, you can't be called what you want to be called. And I went, okay. So you're sitting there late one night, you've got the list of different website URLs on one screen, and you've got Companies House on the other, and you sit there and you go, well, where do you start? What are we going to call ourselves? And it had to be the first thing I tried. Nobody expects something as simple as Love Payroll to be available, do they? Either the URL's not available or it's not available on Companies House. But amazingly, there it was, as what I would describe as a God incident. And hey presto, here we are as Love Payroll Limited. And so what that means that we do is we provide payroll services, not just for end users, and we love working with our direct clients, but actually our passion, the thing that matters the most to us, is that we try and enable people to stop doing what they hate. And that is accountants, bookkeepers, HR specialists who find themselves doing payroll because they feel they have to, not because they love to. And we want to enable them to stop doing that stuff that they don't love so they can focus on doing that stuff that they do. So there are other aspects of being an accountant. There are other aspects of being a bookkeeper that really floats their boat. And this frustrating bit of payroll, because they often find it that way, is taken off them and is looked after in a way that works.
I wonder why. I mean, I guess you've got several answers to this, but I'm thinking about it. I'll start from an employer's point of view. I know quite a lot of smallish employers who still do their own payroll, and
Yes.
and from the employee's point of view, on the 30th or 31st of the month, that's pretty much the most important part of them working there. And I've seen payroll cause friction between typically the manager and the employee. And I remember when I was an employee and the payroll, my pay slip didn't have what I expected on it, that caused friction between me and the manager. And I wonder why some companies still stick with it when someone who's frankly got another job to do spends part of the end of the month dealing with disgruntled, confused, or really quite fed up employees.
It's 11 o'clock at night. You're in the back room of the pub, and the head chef, who is also the owner of the pub, suddenly thinks, still got the payroll to do. He's had a long shift. He's knackered. He just wants to go to bed, but he knows if he doesn't do the payroll, it's not going to get done and nobody's going to get paid and everybody's going to be upset. So what does he do? He gets out his laptop. He types in all of the stuff. He tries to do it. And damn it, he's got he's got the pot washer's money wrong by 10 quid. Oh, it's only 10 quid in a grand scheme of things. But how does the pot washer feel? That's a lot of money to him. That's a goodly chunk of what he was going to be able to go out that weekend and take his girlfriend down to the cinema with. and it's not there. What's he going to do about it? Of course he's going to be upset, but he knows that the head chef is the chap with the cleaver, and if he goes and complains again about the fact that his payslip is wrong, what on earth are they going to do about it? So for goodness sake, chef, go to bed. Let somebody else manage your payroll, make sure that everybody's had the correct payslip and everybody's been paid correctly. The thing that Ruth will tell you, and we talk about constantly at Love Payroll, is you don't mess with people's money, because that £5, £10 difference can make the world of difference to the end user. And that's where our passion for it is. And I understand that it may seem simple. It's just that one more thing to do, but you can get it wrong. And if you get it really wrong, then HMRC really get upset about it, and they don't like it when you get it wrong. So that's where we can come in. We can easily remove that pressure. And we've even got clients. I mean, we had one of our first projects was for a client that hadn't got on top of holiday entitlement for 2 years. So the first weekend we spent on their project was getting all of the details for all of what everybody should have had, paid, unpaid, all of that stuff, and got it sorted out. So they now know exactly how much holiday everybody gets. And once a month, they get a little report that says, here's everybody's holiday entitlement, and they know what they can give and what they can't, or what is paid and what is unpaid.
Yeah, with several of my children and stepchildren either working or having worked in hospitality, I see exactly that scenario, and I wonder, from the employer's point of view, I wonder sometimes if they actually don't know that there is an outsourced service that they could use, and they're just left doing it. When I started my own business, there were so many services that I didn't actually know existed. And that's one of the reasons I'm excited about working with you, so I can get the word out there that this is something that people can do.
And the other thing is, they may think that they can only get it done with their accountant, and quite rightly, accountants have an hourly fee that is significant, and therefore the accountants don't want to be doing the payroll because actually it's beneath them, and the clients don't want to be asking the accountant to do it because they know what their hourly rate is. So it's a lose scenario. Whereas actually, by getting us to help with that, we can support the accountant to make sure that all of that stuff is being done right. We can make sure that the pensions are being appropriately paid, that HMRC is being paid the right amount of tax, and everybody's happy. So we're very much a support organization for an accountancy, and even more so a support organization for the end user, to make sure that all of their staff are happy and getting paid at the right time.
Yeah, and I think if it's a little bit more than that, isn't it? Because if their staff aren't happy, then at least you're a arm's length. You're not the manager. You can explain why something might be being done in the way that it's being done.
Yeah, and we are very open. We WhatsApp, telephone, carrier pigeon, whatever means of communication is right for the client or for their staff. We're very happy to be reached, to be approached in whichever way is best.
What sort of companies do you end up working for? What do your clients look like as such? What do they have to be a particular size, for example, or in a particular industry or business? What sort of people work for you?
We love working. I mean, hospitality is a great one. So being able to help people in that arena is helpful. We again are very focused on bookkeepers and accountants. So by end users, people in the hospitality industry or any organization, or the word any is one of those ones that always confronts me. But certainly organizations that have got a few staff, so one or two, we're probably quite expensive. It's not that we can't, we're just a bit expensive. But once you get kind of 3, 5 and above, we're then providing decent value as that happens. And hospitality is a great one. I mean, we have a number of different clients that we've met here where we are at the moment in the Bromley area. We're a national payroll bureau. We just happen to have got a footprint here right now, and we'll be and we've also got a footprint up in Cheshire right now. So we very much are not restricted by geography because the majority of our work is done online. But certainly, if it's ever appropriate, we can go and meet clients throughout the UK to be able to be face to face and build that relationship if that's appropriate.
And I know you and I have talked about this offline as well, but you don't just outsource the work for employers, you outsource the work for accountants themselves as well, who may be doing everything else for the employer. But that doesn't actually mean that the accountant loses anything, does it? Because the relationship is still between them and their client. You outsource, you work on behalf of the accountant. That actually enables the accountant to focus on what they do best as well, I think.
Absolutely, absolutely. And we do that in one of two ways. We have a white label service. So if the accountant is quite happy to gather the information from the client and we are literally the engine room doing the payroll for them, then that's fine. And that enables them to put quite a significant amount of cream on top of the pricing and still remain competitive. Where we've come across some accountants and bookkeepers where there's a lot of chasing of the end user and where they would prefer it, then the client introduces us as a payroll partner. So we work alongside them. Their clients know who we are. They've got our email address to speak to us directly. So we operate in one of two ways with our bookkeeper and accountant clients. We either operate as a white label service where we're the hidden engine room, or we operate as a partner who can then easily pick up the phone as Love Payroll and say we're working alongside the accountants and managing the payroll side for them.
I think that white labeling idea is genius, because the accountant then 100% keeps the relationship with their client. I'm just going to say as a quick aside, because I know we've got people watching us on LinkedIn. If any of you who are watching have got any questions about payroll, pop them in the comments. They're there for me. They're probably there for you. I'll read them out because it makes more sense for a recording, but we'll get your questions about payroll answered live. Because, and I'm saying that, and as I'm saying it, I'm thinking, and maybe this is just literally a reason for you to exist. To me, it feels extremely complicated and big as a subject. My team is virtual. I work with people who are their own businesses rather than being employed by me directly. And I guess that makes me, I'm going to say, scared of payroll, if ever that was a thing, because I would be literally scared of getting it wrong for people who worked for me. And yeah, that's, as I was saying, if you've got any questions to ask, I was literally thinking to myself, but it's such a big subject as well.
I think you're right. It is a big subject. And what I witness every day is that 30 years of experience has brought with it the simplifying of that and knowing how to approach it and knowing what's possible and what isn't possible. So the world of finance, it appears to me, and I speak as a non-financial person, I have the privilege of building the relationships rather than actually having to operationally do any of the payroll. But it certainly appears to me that it's quite restrictive in terms of the best times of year to make changes. And the reality of life is that actually people want to change who is providing their service at any time of year. So many of the questions that we've had come through from other accountants has been around those challenges of changing mid-year and how that impacts, particularly where you've got that whole TUPE situation of moving from one organization to another, that can deliver with it all sorts of payroll-ish challenges that, unless it's handled correctly, is going to cause a headache down the road. So you change from a payday of the middle of the month to the end of the month, or all of those sorts of, it's these little nuanced things that the majority of us lay people is just, well, it's just a change, isn't it? They just sort it out. But actually, the detail of the tax implications and the detail of the payroll implications can be quite significant. And we have the privilege of getting accountants who trust our expertise and who run their own payrolls. So it's not like we're yet at the point that we're doing all of their payroll for them, but they're still utilizing our expertise to get resolution to their challenges. And we're comfortable with that. We have a number of different accountants who will pick up the phone and just say, "Can I have an hour of your time?" And we then get the issue resolved and send them an invoice for the time.
I think there's whilst we're talking about that, it's something that I wonder why people aren't completely putting it out to you. And I guess it's one of those things, I think you and I have talked about this as well, that people talk about oxygen, isn't it? You don't notice oxygen until there isn't any. You don't notice payroll as an employer until it goes wrong, I guess. Whilst it's working and whilst you're basically making it work and everyone seems broadly happy, I guess it's not something that you pay a huge amount of attention to.
I wonder whether it's a bit like going to the mechanic to have your tires done. Yeah, you go to the mechanic and you say, I need you to sort my tires out for me, and they actually say, no, you need to go and talk to this tire specialist down the road. It is perceived by the mechanic as, well, wheels are part of the car, therefore I should do the wheels, shouldn't I? And I think that's the same with payroll. That actually, I'm an accountant, therefore I should offer payroll. But many accountants or bookkeepers have said to me, as I've been having conversations with them, but I don't want to do the payroll. It's not what I want to do. I enjoy the bookkeeping. I enjoy this. I enjoy that. And there are times when I'm turning down work because they only want to go somewhere where the payroll is included, and I don't want to do that. So that's fine. We'll do it on your behalf.
Yeah, I something that I talk about a lot is tipping points as well. That often businesses reach a tipping point. So we want to sell to them when we want to sell to them, of course, but businesses reach a tipping point which they'll carry on doing what they're doing or stick with their existing provider quite often until things go wrong. And you're making a great case for getting people to think about it in advance. You've just mentioned mechanics, and we've recently had our dishwasher repaired, and there is a relevance to this, I promise. It's not just a tangent. Because the dishwasher was leaking rinse aid, and whilst it's leaking rinse aid, we were just buying more rinse aid to put in it. And then when the dishwasher repairman came round, having not had a dishwasher in a family of 4 adults for 3 weeks, he said, "Oh, I'll tell you what it is. It's all the rinse aid leaking into the bottom of the dishwasher. That's what's caused the problem." And to me, it was like, oh, it's not a big enough problem to do anything about.
Yeah.
And I again wonder if people are like that about payroll, that they won't realize how much time they can save, how much better things will work, how much less rinse aid they'll need to buy, until they actually work with you and get it working. And there's, businesses and tipping points. That's a thing. You don't realize you need something until you actually do it. And the bit that I didn't include on your intro, which you've talked about quite a lot here, is that as a team, I know you as a people person, and you're out there actually making the case. And then, with enormous respect to you, Ruth's actually doing the work in the background, isn't she? You're being front of house, talking to the clients, making sure that the clients are happy. Whereas I'm not for one moment saying that Ruth's doing all the work and you're not doing anything.
Oh, no, she is doing all of the work. I'm just the monkey at the front clapping my hands.
That puts a completely different flavor on the business to me, because the clients have got you to deal with, but dealing with you isn't detracting from the work actually being done. Quite often, if you're dealing with your accountant, bookkeeper, whoever it happens to be, they're not actually doing the thing in the background. But in dealing with you, it's not slowing down the engine, is it?
No, absolutely true. And I want to come back to something you said about tipping points, because that was it made me smile, and it is something about our approach and who we are and how we operate as a business. you said people want to buy when they want to buy. And I put a post out this last week talking about accountants and it being January. So I have a list of people that I am looking forward to having conversations with, all of whom are accountants and therefore are up to their necks and the rest. And therefore very unlikely to be watching this live, but hopefully we'll be seeing some of the snippets from it in coming weeks because they're up to their necks in their busiest time of year. And I put that question out that said, I've made the decision because of where our heart is and our approach that I won't be phoning accountants to talk to them about payroll this week or frankly last week, because actually they are up to their ears and they really don't want to talk to me as much as they probably would like a Kit Kat. Because we're sending those out to accountants as well. But in all seriousness, we are passionate about how we approach business and about how we approach our clients, that we are always endeavoring to be understanding of where they're at and what's going on for them and make sure that we're available when they need us, and we're understanding of when things are a bit crazy for them, so that we can be responsive to when they are at a point. It was the lovely your comment on it was beautiful around speaking to people who are publicans. You don't talk to them during the busy lunchtime or evening time. You speak to them at other times of the day, and we absolutely try and do that with the conversations we have with our clients.
That does show a great understanding of accountants' business, because I think I'm pretty sure one of our Connect members said this morning that they wouldn't be attending the meeting because it's the last week of January. You know, they're bogged down with stuff. Actually, it was the lovely Ali Wiltshire. She messaged me this morning to say it's the last week of January. What do you think I'm doing? Words to that general effect. Yeah. Ali from Fiscal Business Services, who I will shout out. But yeah, I think that shows a great understanding of who accountants are and bookkeepers and what they're dealing with at this time of year. And the tipping point thing is important for every business to think about as well, because as well as that, if you can get ahead of it, I'm going to go back and say, if I'd actually fixed the thing that was causing the rinse aid to leak, I wouldn't have had the rather more expensive repair that we did have. So I think if people can get ahead of the curve and think, okay, if we want to expand this accountancy, what piece of work can we lose so that we can deal with more clients? Well, the payroll is an obvious thing. Or if we want to expand our business and take on more staff, we should probably have someone doing this rather more professionally than we're doing at the moment. So I think as well, businesses can get ahead of that tipping point if they just give a bit of thought to it.
Absolutely, they can. And you reminded me of one of my key phrases that I talk about, and all of what you said is absolutely right. And planning for the future and thinking about the future is crucial in order to make the best of those tipping points. I think equally important is what I talk about often, which is breakfast. And you've heard me talk about breakfast before, but it is something I am so passionate about, that we as human beings spend too much time worrying about things we can't change. And when I come to talk about breakfast, people say, "Well, what is this thing about breakfast that you talk about, Jay?" And I say, "Look, genuine question, Stefan, what did you have for breakfast?"
You amuse me then. I'm going to share this with the audience, right? Because just before we went live, Jay and I have known each other for coming up for 20 years. Jay was saying to me, "Are you Steph or are you Stefan? Because I'm confused because you sign off." And I said, "I don't really know myself." And you tripped yourself over there. So I was being amused with that rather than listening to the questions. So I will tell you, this morning I had a vegan sausage sandwich for breakfast, actually, which we made at home. Quite often we go to Greg's for breakfast because it's just down the road, but they do a very good vegan sausage bat. But I had a vegan sausage sandwich for breakfast this morning. There you go.
Can you change that?
Can I?
Can you change that?
No, I can't. Okay.
So if you can't change what you had for breakfast, why are you spending time worrying about things that happened yesterday or last week or last month that you can't change any more than you can change what you had for breakfast? And that's the reality I talk to people about when I say breakfast. And actually, often between Ruth and I, one or other of us will just say that's breakfast, and we know exactly what they mean, and it's just that's happened. We can't change it. We can change what we do now for the future, and we can make sure it doesn't happen if that's appropriate. But actually changing what we had for breakfast isn't something that we can do.
I put myself on mute for a second. I live relatively close to RAF Bryce Norton, and something very, very noisy appears to be happening. I hope that wasn't disturbing people who are listening. But yeah, I get that. I think if I was an employer and payroll had been an issue, I'm going to come back to that. A really, really positive thing to say to the staff would be like, sorry, the company's been expanding. We've been trying to do all of this ourselves. So what we've done now is actually payroll will be handled by a professional payroll company. Thanks for bearing with us whilst we've been expanding the company. We promise that from now on it's going to be better. I think that would be, look, I've had conversations like that when I've cocked up myself with people, because people are typically not just interested in an apology, they're interested in a what now conversation, because you can't go back. And I wouldn't have, what I had for breakfast was delicious, but nevertheless, I take the point. I wouldn't want to change it, but there are plenty of things. One of the things that, so I've known you for approaching 20 years, certainly 15 years plus. You joined the network that I'm running a little while ago now, before Christmas, and also in a subsequent conversation, I'm going to explain why I chose you, because I was looking for a headline sponsor for Connect Live on May the 20th, 2006. I'm going to pop that into the chat as well so people can see it. And I come back into contact with you. We were chatting about Connect, the network, and I thought, what would be a good fit? So if you're, so let's think about the people I've got around me. I've got a PR consultant, a copywriter, someone who does AI. And what have those folk got in common? An HR consultant, I'm trying not to leave people out, an HR consultant, intellectual property consultant, etc. What have those people got in common? Well, our clients tend to be bigger than us. That's something that we've all typically got in common. We've got clients, I've got clients with 45 staff. I've got a recent client with over 100 staff in the UK. And what you can do is offer a service to all of those folks' clients. So even if they don't have staff themselves, their clients do. So it makes you universal. And that's what I'm thinking about approaching you. And that's why I chose you as headline sponsor for Connect Live. And I'll be interested to hear back from you as to why you said yes. Actually, that would be a really lovely thing.
That's kind. And I think one thing that you know, but you may not recognize, is that you draw around you a group of people, a community of people who are not fearful of recommending trusted businesses around them to their clients to cement the relationship or to expand their relationship with their clients. So they are people that, as part of who they are and as part of their makeup, actually get a bit of a kick, as I do, from sharing their little black. It's what you've talked about before with Barrett's, isn't it? It's that whole thing of becoming the person who your community's clients will ring and say, I've got a problem I need, and they get that pleasure out of utilizing their network and recommending people. So for me, that's part of the answer. So part of the answer is you naturally, as Stephen Thomas, you naturally draw together a community of people who enjoy helping people by recommending others. So that therefore means that those are the kind of people that we want to be around, and that's the kind of room we want to be seen as a headline sponsor for, because actually we want to be seen and recognized as somebody that is delivering a service of value and a service that makes a difference to our clients' lives. So being able to be in a room full of over 100 people who are genuinely coming along to make new connections and to progress their business is exactly the kind of place that we want to be in, exactly the kind of environment that we want to be seen in.
I wrote a book, or I co-authored a book with the wonderful Wes Linden, and the book's called Win the Room. And it's hints and tips about networking, but it's also the story of how Wes built his UW business and how I built my business and my reputation. One of the things that we've both done is put ourselves in a position where people phone us and say, do you know someone who does this? And when Wes was building his business through networking, he made an absolute point of being the person who other people would pick up the phone to. So he wasn't always phoning with an agenda, wasn't ever phoning with an agenda. I know Wes far better than that. He was often phoning to say, hey, look, you're going to get an email from this guy. I've told him to get in touch with you. This woman's going to get in touch with you. And she's getting in touch with you because I said you'd be a great person. And I remember that with Barrett's Shoes, where you and I both did some work with Barrett's Shoes back in the day. Because what would happen was that Barrett's Shoes would phone me and say, do you know someone who does this? Do you know someone who does that? And it meant that Barrett's Shoes were picking up the phone to me because I became part of the furniture.
Yeah.
So if I can be having a chat with a client and I'll say, how are things? And they'll say, yeah, great. 5 minutes, Steph. It's the end of the month. I've got the payroll to do. I could say to them, would you like me to take that stress away in a month's time? Like literally, so that you're not feeling like this at the end of the month. To me, that's another, if we think about our stock value going up and down, that's my stock value going up with that client.
Yeah.
When Barrett's Shoes were able to phone me and say, we need a photographer in Cardiff, and I was like, yeah, I know exactly the person. They were like, oh, this Steph's a good guy. And what would happen was that Barrett's would say, oh, by the way, can you do some training in send us your bill? And I think Wes and I have talked about this so much that if you're the person who solves someone's payroll problem, if you're their HR consultant, their accountant, their PR consultant, their copywriter, whatever it happens to be, but you happen to have solved this problem for them, that makes you valuable. The other thing is, because you've got me on a bit of a soapbox, when I was an estate agent half a mile away from here in Witney, we used to let local people use our photocopier for free. So the local scout group, the local music group, the play group, whatever it happened to be, it meant that people were getting used to coming into our office. Can we do 40 sheets and so on? And they would probably buy us chocolates at Christmas and whatever. But the truth is, there was zero downside in getting people used to coming in and seeing us. So if I happen to have referred you to someone, and every time they're on the phone to Jay, they're thinking, oh yeah, this is the guy who Steph referred. That's a positive for any business. No, I think you can see you've hit a nail on a head here into what I've created with Connect the Network and what I'm creating with Connect Live the event is a group of people who know why they're there, and we're actually going to find useful introductions for them. Now, what that means is that you may be walking around on the day and you get chatting to someone and you think, oh, one of Love Payroll's clients would be perfect for this, that this service would work so well for them. And everyone else will be doing the same. When I talk about facilitated networking, Love Payroll are going to be at the front of all of that. And what that means for the attendees is that they will be finding other people in the room who are of a similar mindset. What goes around comes around. What we can keep in the internal economy as well, I've always liked the idea of that if I refer someone to you, then just being crassly commercial about it, you've got a bit more money to spend on another service. So you might decide you need a copywriter, and then you may go and use Emma Rundle. I've introduced you to Emma recently. And then Emma's got a bit more money sloshing around in her business. And that, to me, has always been a great way of building all of our businesses.
Absolutely.
The what goes around comes around factor has always been a huge one to me. That was a
completely.
long
No, I totally agree, and I think that, and as you will say often on this similar subject, it's not an account. These things are not about accounting. So it's not about I give you, I expect back from you. It is that the more we give out to others in our network, the more our network gives back to us. And it's rarely that where you give out, you'll get back. It is just that I smile because I was trying to use the universe word, which is uncomfortable for me. I'm much better with the short form. Just 3 letters works for me. And God is a really good one. And so yeah, but that whole thing of the more we find opportunities to support, encourage, and help those around us, somehow other people will reciprocate, and eventually it comes in different forms and in different ways. And for us, when we looked at what you were doing with Connect Live, an opportunity to engage with that and to support it and to be a part of it was absolutely where we want to be. And so Love Payroll is massively privileged and excited to see what Connect Live is going to do for everybody who is there, not just for us, but we want to see that event as a stick in the sand, as a moment in time where lots of people are coming away from it saying, wow, wasn't that a successful event? And look what's happened for our business as a result of being there. Because if we are all focused on enabling us all to rise on the same tide, we will all get to that new level and that new experience, and we'll all benefit from it and look back a year or two from now and say, look what started on that day. And we want to be the name that people remember as being the key sponsor of that day, and a real good part of why everybody's had so much fun.
Clip that, StreamYard. Clip that, because that I will definitely be using as a reel later on. Hey, it's really good to see Samantha Marshall show up here. I'm going to pop, because I was just about to say this to you. Whether you talk about God, the universe, or my logic, which makes sense to me, that if we all spend money with each other, there's more money in the internal economy. It keeps it going around. Whichever one of those you believe, or something completely different, there cannot be any bad coming out of working with other good people. And it's lovely to see you, Sam, show up on here. I'm recording a podcast with Sam tomorrow, I think. It's definitely this week. It's in my diary, so I'm very much looking forward to that. Let's pop that off there. And I think that's a brilliant place to finish. Jay, before people go, if they're not connected, I beg your pardon, with you already, I'm just about to pop your, there we are. There's your, there we go. That's your link to your LinkedIn profile there.
Thank you.
Thank you, Samantha. But apart from that, Jay, apart from LinkedIn, where should people connect with you? Where will people find you? Where would you like anyone watching this to get in touch with you?
Clearly, there's lots of information on our website and on our blog at lovepayroll.co.uk. So by all means, have a look around there. Reach out to me. I'm there on Facebook and I'm on LinkedIn. And I'm trying to work out how the rest of the wonderful world of social is working for me at the moment. So yeah, certainly Facebook and LinkedIn at the moment. But yeah, do reach out or pick up the phone. I'm very happy to have conversations, and likewise happy to have virtual cups of coffee. I've got lots of those lined up over the next few weeks, but there's always space for another.
And if people want to know where to contact you, there is the detail, and I've put the link actually in the comments over there or down there, depending on where you're looking. So that's where people can find Jay. Jay, thank you very much for spending time with me this morning. As I explained right back at the beginning of this, I'm going to take you off stage in a minute, but before I do, yeah, I've really, really enjoyed this conversation. Like, we should do this more often. We should make a thing out of this, you and me actually going live. So let's make a plan about that. I'll contact you offline. Thank you very much. much love to Ruth. I'm going to take you off the stage now. And Jay, as I said at the beginning, if you wouldn't mind leaving the browser open, and I'll put the recording out of this. And for the rest of you, thank you for being with us. If you've got any outstanding questions about payroll, about Connect Live, if you just want to get in touch with Jay because he's a cool guy, then pop them in the comments there or there, wherever you're seeing the comments. I'll still tag Jay in all of them afterwards. Thank you for joining us. I'm going to click the button now. There's usually a few second delay before we actually come off the air. So I'll just fill time until that happens. Thank you, folks.